Warriors training camp just over a week away. We got this guy, Mike Dunleavy, making moves around the clock to ensure that Golden State's Warriors roster is as competitive as possible for the start of the 2024-25 NBA season. You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. My name is Tyler Smith, and this is why you subscribe to the channel, because we're bringing you Warriors news like nobody else on YouTube. No matter how big or small the move is, we're bringing you a video here on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed, because we're bringing you nonstop Golden State Warriors content all season long. The season's less than a month away. Let's get it going. Subscribe to the channel. Come along for us with the ride. Let's go. So let's start with the first roster move that Golden State has made, and it is the waiving of Yuri Collins. Now, Yuri Collins spent time with the Santa Cruz Warriors last season, but it just doesn't look like there's room for him to make this Golden State Warriors roster at this point. Now, he is a gifted passer. He's a gifted ball handler, and that's something the Warriors roster kind of lacks right now outside of Stephen Curry and Brandon Podziemski. If you look at the Golden State Warriors guard depth chart right here, I mean, Steph and Podziemski are at the top, and it's likely that those two are going to start this season. So your two best ball handlers, and really your only two reliant ball handlers, are going to be in the starting lineup this season. Then you have DeAnthony Melton and Buddy Hield off of the bench there to have a little bit of a more scoring spark. DeAnthony Melton to give you a little bit of a punch on defense. And then Moses Moody is not really a ball handler. He's kind of a quasi-tweener between guard and wing. And then Gary Payton II, we never know if he's going to be healthy enough to stay in the Golden State Warriors rotation consistently. We'll see if that changes this year, but he's more of a defensive asset for Golden State, not necessarily a facilitator like Steph and Podziemski can be. So that brings me to this point. Like, I think Golden State needs another ball handler on this roster, and Yuri Collins could have been that guy. Just doesn't seem that they're really willing to take the chance on him right now, and he'll likely end up back with the Golden State Warriors G League affiliate in Santa Cruz this season. Another guy who might meet that same fate is Javen Johnson, who was signed to an Exhibit 10 contract and then waived just like Yuri Collins was. He spent time as well with the Santa Cruz Warriors last season, and what Javen Johnson kind of brings to the table is that three-level scoring, as well as pick a spot around the three-point line, and Javen Johnson can hit the shot. He was one of Golden State's, or should I say Santa Cruz's, best three-point shooters last season, and he expects to be back in that rotation back in Santa Cruz this year, because you probably aren't going to find a spot for him in this Warriors roster on the wing, right? Jonathan Kuminga is going to be starting this year. Andrew Wiggins, it's probably likely that he's going to be starting this season, given the money that you're paying him, over $25 million a season. And then you have Kyle Anderson, who you signed this season for $9 million a year. You're going to have to play him on the wing and in the front court as well. And then, like I mentioned again, Moses Moody. Like, is Javen Johnson really going to crack the lineup here when Moses Moody is finding trouble, finding minutes on this Warriors rotation? I don't really think so. So Javen Johnson, Yuri Collins, these are deals that you make. These are waves that you make to get him back on your G League roster. We'll talk about that more in just a second. But he wasn't going to fit in that Warriors wing depth rotation. He wasn't going to jump any of those guys on that depth chart. But with that being said, if you want Golden State to make the playoffs this season, make sure you hit the thumbs up icon on today's video. It helps us get this video out to as many Golden State Warriors fans, as many basketball fans as possible. And if you want to ensure that Golden State makes a playoff run this year, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up icon. Don't jinx it. We want Golden State to be in the postseason. One more wave here for Golden State. Mike Dunleavy saying goodbye to Donta Scott, but not really. Like I said, he will probably be on the G League roster, much like Johnson and Collins were. But Donta Scott, who they signed this offseason to another Exhibit 10 contract, like I said, G League ties. He spent time with Golden State's Summer League roster this year, and he's just kind of that big body, small ball four who has a good ability to roll to the rim. He finishes well, attacks the offensive glass. A high-energy guy here in Donta Scott, but doesn't look like he'll be cracking the Warriors' main roster at this point. But it's kind of crazy. I know he's not the biggest player out there, only standing at 6'8", but, man, Golden State's front court just doesn't have true size. They're missing one guy that we think is going to be on the roster this year. We'll talk about that later in today's video. But, man, I just don't think Donta Scott was never, ever going to crack a lineup over a guy who's won multiple championships in Kevon Looney, a guy who they're putting a lot of chips in the basket for in Trace Jackson Davis. Hopefully he makes a big second-year leap. Jonathan Kuminga, obviously, he's going to play some minutes at the 4 this season, even though I'm a little bit concerned with his length defensively defending big power forwards. And then Draymond Green, obviously, is going to be your main power forward and basically main contributor in the front court. But why did Golden State make these moves? Why did they just sign these guys to an Exhibit 10 contract basically a couple weeks ago just to waive them a couple weeks later before the start of training camp even begins? Well, Exhibit 10 contracts give these teams kind of a bit of security, right? Gives them the opportunity to bring these guys in for a couple weeks worth of workouts and then see if, they're impressive enough to be on this Warriors team moving forward. But cutting them still has ties to the G League affiliate. If Golden State wants to have these guys on their G League team, these are the moves you make. You sign them to an Exhibit 10 deal, and then you waive them because they are still tied down to your G League roster. So if they impressed enough, they had the opportunity to make the Golden State's main roster, but it doesn't look like they did, and they will likely all three be heading to Golden State's Santa Cruz G League affiliate. Now next, Warriors did sign a player. We only talked about 3 roster moves. There is a 4th coming up, and we'll talk about Quinten Post because you see that the Warriors waived 3 players. They signed 1. Could that leave room for the 7-foot big man out of Boston College? We'll talk about that in just a moment. But before we do, I got to get you guys looking fresh this fall. Not everybody can rock these sick Warriors Today polos like I got on, but you can get your Warriors polo here. Chatsports.com/Warriors polo. Listen, it's tailgate season. The NBA season is about to start. It's about a month away. I need you guys looking fresh with our friends over at Fanatics. Look at this Warriors polo. You can get it in blue, you can get it in yellow, you can get it in black, and you can get it in white. Chatsports.com/Warriors polo. They're 25% off right now. 25% off. Go get this sick deal over at Fanatics by using this link right here. Chatsports.com/Warriors polo. I'll put that link in the comments and description of today's video to make it easy for you guys. Go look fresh this fall with some Warriors polo gear. So here is who Golden State decided to sign recently. The Warriors signed Blake Hinson, a sharpshooting small ball 4 out of Pitt. And it's interesting because this could be a lightning in a bottle catch for Golden State, as he was waived by the Lakers on September 16th, signed by the Warriors on September 19th. So just a few days of Blake Hinson kind of dealing in limbo here and becomes a Golden State Warrior. Was with the Lakers Summer League this year, and he played solid, over 10 points a game and 20 minutes per night in 8 appearances. Very, very solid numbers there, but where we want to really see the expertise, the skill set of Blake Hinson here is beyond the arc. He led the ACC in 3-point percentage last season. And not to say that he did it on low volume. He did it on 8 3-point attempts per game. Shot 42.1% on basically 8 3-point attempts per game. That's unheard of, especially at the college level where guys aren't shooting the ball as efficiently. And Blake Hinson just decided to wipe that statistic away because, man, he lit it up from deep range for Pitt last year. Any spot on the floor, corner, top of the key, wing, Blake Hinson was knocking them down. And it's funny because Blake Hinson is actually the only Exhibit 10 deal that Golden State has signed this season, or this offseason, I should say, that wasn't with Golden State prior. So they're really seeing something in Blake Hinson here that might even look like an opportunity to make Golden State's main roster here, as they are thin at that front court spot. Now, Maxwell Ogden, a guy who writes for the Lakers fan-sided network, saying that losing Blake Hinson could have actually come back to haunt the Lakers. Like we said, Blake Hinson was waived by the Lakers on September 16th. Just 3 days later, he signs with Golden State. The Lakers actually had a situation like this happen a couple years back when they waived Ivica Zubac in order to get Mike Muscala. And Muscala never ended up materializing for anything for the Lakers. Ended up being a massive piece for division rival, the Clippers. Ivica Zubac did. So could this be another situation where the Lakers gift wrap a player over to a division rival and he ends up being a stud? I hope so. But the most likely outcome here for Blake Hinson is that he ends up back in Santa Cruz. It's unlikely that he makes this Warriors roster at this point. But hey, it looks like he's going to be a part of their training camp squad. And that's exciting because I think there's an opportunity here for Blake Hinson to just straight up light it up in Warriors training camp and earn that roster spot that is open for Golden State right now. Now, these moves that Golden State has made, 3 waived, 1 signed. So that's a net of -2. Remember a couple days ago when they made these roster moves, I said the Warriors have 21 camp bodies ready to roll. That's as many as you can carry to training camp. Now they have 19. So where do they go next? Who else are they bringing to training camp? There's one name who fits the bill, and that's our guy, Quinten Post. Is it finally his time? Only time will tell. I mean, Quinten Post fits in this Warriors roster seamlessly. He can hit the outside shot. He can defend the rim. And he's a 7-footer, which Golden State just really lacks on this roster right now. At the end of the day, is there a true center who's going to stack up against some of these 7-footers in the league on this roster? There's no 7-footer on the roster right now for Golden State. You're biggest body, your guy who you're probably most comfortable with running at the center at this point is Kevon Looney. And at this point in his career, I'm not so sure that he's going to be so effective that he's going to move a needle for Golden State in the front court. And now, is Quinten Post going to do that? No, but he's going to give you some reassurance on the back end that you could throw a 7-footer in there, that you could throw somebody in there to protect the rim at a really high level and space the floor and keep the Warriors' offense flowing at a high level. Now, overall here, my take on the Warriors' frontcourt situation is you're one injury away. You're one injury away from looking really bleak. If Trey Jackson-Davis goes down, if Draymond Green goes down, who knows what his health is going to look like at his age and the amount of tread on his tires. You're one injury away from looking really bleak in the front court. Quinten Post, in my opinion, has to make this roster. I think you can part with a guy like Luis Santos. I think you can part with a guy like Reese Beekman. Make sure Quinten Post is up in Golden State playing in the Chase Center at some point this season because the Warriors' front court, it's just not deep enough, in my opinion, especially at the pure size standpoint, to not have this guy on the roster. But what do you guys think? Should Quinten Post make the Warriors' active roster? The 15 guys that are going to trot out on the floor for Golden State every game this season, should Quinten Post make the team? Let me know down in the comments by typing Y for yes or typing N for no. That'll do it for today's edition of Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. When Golden State makes another move, big or small, does not matter. We're bringing you a video right here on the channel. And every single day of the NBA season, we're bringing you a video. So stick with us right here. We hope Golden State makes the playoffs and has a good season. And we want you to be along for the ride. So subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/WarriorsTV. We'll see you in the next one. Let's go Dubs.